Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen, head-up display, and a few other things inside of the Kia EV9. This is going to be a full walkthrough showing you everything that you need to know. One thing I'm going to point out is that this is the GT model of the vehicle, so there are a few unique highlights and options, but otherwise it's going to be pretty much the same across the board. If you want to walk through on a lower trim level version, you'll find that down in the description of this video. But the steering wheel inside the vehicle is going to be heated in most trims. So along the driver's side door, there's a button there in order to toggle it on to 2 unique levels, and it's heated all the way around. The steering wheel inside of the EV9 might be manual telescoping or power telescoping depending on your trim level. With a power telescoping steering wheel down by the left side, you've got the switch to go up, down, back, forwards as well. And then what I'd recommend, get your driver's seat set up the way that you'd like to. So some versions have an additional button here in order to be able to adjust at the leg cushion. You can go forwards, backwards, up or down, and then kind of do a little diagonal motion there as well if you'd like. You can adjust out your backrest with multi-way lumbar support as well. Once you've got that set up and your steering wheel, set up your side view mirror the way that you'd like to as well. So you can go left versus right side. You have to click all the way over one way or the other. Once you've got that set up along the driver's door there, you've got 2 different buttons. So you can push and hold in order for it to remember your own personal profile. So if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, hop in and push and hold to reset to your position. You've got heated seats inside of the majority of trims, with ventilated seats available as an option there too. And then the higher trims also have an ergo motion seat with a few different options there for the type of massage that you're going to get for the driver's seat. So incredibly useful if you're going on longer distance trips. Down low from there, you've got a series of other buttons available. So this one is to open or close the charge door. You can open the front, open or close the lift gate, turn traction control on or off. You can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. And then you've got your parking brake there too. So you can pull in towards you in order to turn it on. Push and hold the brake pedal, push away in order to be able to toggle it off. So nice and simple there. And then so many different buttons and stocks. Well, we'll start off with the stocks. So along the left-hand side here, you've got your blinkers with that blind spot view monitor, which I love it. Pull towards you in order to flash your high beams, but you can't permanently lock your high beams out right now. So we're in the auto mode, which means that at nighttime, if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, it turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, turns them off before turning them right back on again. If you want to permanently lock your high beams on though, at nighttime, you can just push away a few times to do it. But you can also go to your upper headlamp mode there, push away to turn them on, pull towards you to turn them off. But you want to be in auto mode though the majority of the time. Stock along the right-hand side is going to be for your wipers. So one up gives you a quick wipe. One down puts you into the auto mode. You could then use the little rocker switch in the middle there in order to adjust out the speed. Go into some of those crazy modes down low. You're going to pull in towards you to get the front wiper fluid going. And then you can use the little stock part on the end there in order to adjust your rear wiper, and then push away in order to get that rear wiper fluid going instead. There are some Regen paddles available. I'll explain those in a second. And then you've also got your shifter here too. So this is where you're going in order to toggle the vehicle on or off. Foot on the brake, you can lightly go up or down to put yourself in a neutral, all the way up for drive, all the way down for reverse. And then there's a button on the tip of that stock in order to put yourself into park. And then along the bottom, you've got your different drive mode buttons there. So either drive versus terrain mode. So drive versus terrain there. Play with different things like terrain, traction, stability control, things like that. Versus drive mode is going to play with a few other things. So when you get into your sport mode, that's going to change up the suspension and the steering. So it's going to also give you more power in the vehicle. But yeah, like I said, it stiffens things up. So with normal and eco mode, think about like a nice loosey-goosey drive versus your sport or available GT mode stiffens things up nicely. The GT mode is strictly for the GT version of the vehicle. So you're not going to be able to get that GT mode in lower trims of the vehicle. But I like how they change up the range there. I'll explain that one in a second. With your drive modes, Eco is just going to be like your day-to-day driving best possible economy. Normal is going to be exactly that. I would say maybe that just for just regular city streets. Sport mode, like I said, stiffens things up beautifully with these other modes. So play with the traction control, stability control, and things like that. From here, I mentioned you've got your either GT mode or there's an individual my drive mode that you can set up, and then so many different buttons. So start off with the buttons along the outside here first. So you've got cruise control with a single type of cruise, and that's going to be adaptive or smart cruise control. So you set it at, let's say, 50. The car in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake. They change lanes, you change lanes, it'll pick you back up to your previously set speed. That's the only type of cruise. So there's no old school traditional cruise. There's a little workaround though, I should say. I'll explain that one in just a second. But in order to use the system, you toggle it on this way. It's not going to work because I'm parked, but it's going to set you at your current speed, at least 30 kilometers an hour, so about 20-ish miles per hour. From there, you can increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by going up and down, push and hold up, push and hold down to increase, decrease at larger increments. You can hit the brake pedal to cancel, pause your speed, push the button in the middle there to cancel, pause your speed, push in again to resume your previously set speed. And then there's your gap adjustment with 4 unique levels. So think of that like a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi for how close or far you are away from that leading vehicle. I'm personally okay on level 1 most of the time, but you might want to be on 2, 3, or 4, depending on your comfort level. And that's where the kind of workaround comes into play, because you can be on level 1, but you can also at any point in time hit the accelerator pedal in order to speed up faster, the brake pedal to resume in order to be able to slow down. So really it's not too different from regular cruise control. Inside of the infotainment system, if you go to your setup and then vehicle, driver assistance, driving convenience, you've got smart cruise control. So you can have it adjust based off of your driving style. You can select between the 4 different distances here, but showed you there, you can also do it through the steering wheel right here if you'd like. And then how fast does the vehicle accelerate and react? So if you like older school cruise control, that normal cruise, have it accelerate either slower or faster with the reaction speed as well. So it won't react as quickly if something's going on. So it's just that you really have to be paying attention that way. And then there's also highway lane change assist that's available inside of higher trims. So you'd hit the turn stalk to go left or right. It'll check to see if anybody's in that lane and change lanes automatically. There's also this button here, and this one, if you just do a light push, so that's either the steering wheel icon, or if you push and hold that same button again, that's going to be your lane keep assist. So push and hold is the lane keep assist. A light tap is going to be the lane follow assist. And the difference, lane keep, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it nudges you back into your lane. The lane follow assist, if the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, it's not self-driving, but it keeps you perfectly balanced in your lane. So you can lightly grip onto the steering wheel and you'll actually feel it turning for you and steering automatically. It's a brilliant system. But if you want to walk through and actually using cruise control, you'll find that down in the description of this video. Then you've got your little pages button to go between a few different pages inside of the cluster. I'll explain that in a bit. And your scroll wheel to go up and down between different pages. Or if you ever get a message in the cluster, you can push OK in order to essentially act as an OK button. Buttons along this side here, you've got a voice command prompt. So you'll be able to do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice. You can open and close tailgates, things like that. So many things using your voice. So what I'd recommend is when you first get your EV9, hit that voice command prompt, hit the commands button there in order to see everything that you can do, because you can do the majority of things, adjusting fan speed, climate, things like that, all using your voice instead. If you had a phone connected, you could do a long push and hold there in order to be able to activate either your Siri or your Google Assistant. There's your volume rocker there, push in the middle to mute, volume rockers there as well. You can answer or hang up on a phone call, and then you've got this switch to go up or down between any presets that you've got set up. You can also push and hold up or push and hold down in order for it to act as a seek button. And then you've got 2 individual buttons here as well. And these buttons can be customized through the infotainment system. So if you go to your setup, buttons, you've got your custom steering wheel button right there. So what does that little feller do? Maybe you want it to toggle media off. Maybe you want it to toggle the display off. So now if we hit that button, puts the screen into a calming mode instead. The mode button is going to be this one here. So what does that do? It's going to be 4 individual sources. So if you have a tendency to listen to sounds of nature, FM, AM, etc., select whatever options you listen to there. And then when you tap the mode button now, it's going to change between all of those available sources that you've got selected that way. Inside of the cluster screen, you've got your parking brake option there. Whatever drive mode that you're currently in will show up along the very bottom. which is pretty nice. I love the different looks that are available. I'll explain that one in a second. You've got your speedometer there, ready to drive with your outside temperature, whatever gear you're currently in. And then you've got your reverse front sensing systems with the available side sensing systems there as well. Your current battery range there too, so that's done a few different ways. You've got different range gauges there, so that's your percentage versus this one. So as you move between your different drive modes there, you can see a few different things. So you can see the maximum that you can get, the minimum that you can get, and then what it's expected to get based off of your current driving habits and things like that. The max that you can get is if you don't have anything going. So if you don't have your heat going, if you don't have air conditioning going, if there are no accessories plugged in, etc., driving in ideal conditions, that's what you're going to get. So I like that Kia does it this way where you can see roughly what to expect. Your minimum gauge is if you've got kind of everything going. So like at a worst case scenario, that's at least what you're going to get. But you're going to be in the eco mode though, or normal mode, I think the majority of the time. Your power gauge is there with your charge gauge as well. So power, think of that one like your traditional tachometer. So you put your foot down, it's how much power are you actively using. And then you've got the charge gauge, which will drop down the opposite way. So that's based off of regenerative braking or just general braking. So the vehicle is going to try to recapture charge. But that's where the paddles come into play. So you've got your minus along the right-hand side with your plus along the left. So these aren't paddles as in paddle shifters, it's your regen braking level. So it's you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, are you slowing down fairly rapidly? Or is there no slowdown and you're just coasting like a traditional internal combustion vehicle? You can take the right paddle though and push and hold it in order to get to an auto mode, which means that the vehicle determines what mode that you're in based off of your driving conditions. If you go all the way to the left, push and hold, that's going to put you into your I-pedal drive, so your one pedal. So you take your foot off the brake pedal and you slow down extremely rapidly. But you can kind of go one way or the other if you'd like to. I personally I'm a bigger fan of either level 1 or level 0 because I'm not a big fan of that regen braking, but you can set it up however you'd like to that way instead. And I mentioned there, you've got your different icons for your cruise control, etc. And then you've got the flexibility, as you saw there, we move between different drive modes to be able to customize the look of the cluster screen a little bit. Inside of the infotainment system, going to your setup, cluster head-up display, you've got your cluster theme selections. You can have it linked to your drive mode, or you can lock it into any of the available styles here. So where that one comes into play, you move between your different drive modes and it changes out the look. But let's say if you love the look of the sport mode, but you like the economy of the eco mode, you can lock it into any style now. So it's now locked into style C, which is sport mode. But if we go between different modes now, it's going to change up nothing outside of your overall economy, etc. But it still gives you that sport mode look. But I'm personally just a bigger fan of linking it to your drive mode. And then you've got different content selections. So you want your blind spot view monitor showing up there as well, which is the one where you hit the turnstile to go left or right, and it shows you what's going on inside of your blind spot. And then you've got your trip counters here as well, and you hit your pages button to get to a few different views. So the main one here, well, I should say the third page, that's going to be your driver assistance page. On highways, interstates, you're going to notice these lanes go green. It's essentially letting you know that those lanes are recognized. In the higher trims, you'll also have an advanced highway drive assist system. So when those lanes are recognized, you'll get an additional icon on the upper part of the cluster here. You'd then be able to hit the turnstile to go left or right, as I was showing you there, in order for it to change lanes automatically. It's great. And then it also shows you your blind spot along the either side along the bottom. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on the left or the right, it'll highlight there to let you know. And I don't know if you caught it here, when you get to this page, so you can hit OK. So push and hold the button there in order to be able to get to a series of different settings inside of the infotainment system. If you want to walk through on the infotainment, you'll find that down in the description of this video. You can take that pages button again to get to either trip counters, or you've got one more, which is your nav counter. I'll show you that one in a second. But your trip counter, this first page, current trip, is from your last ignition cycle. How far have you gotten? If you use the rocker to scroll down, that's going to get you to your after charging. So since you've charged, how far have you gotten? Next one is going to be your since last reset, and then your range guides. So these ones here, you can see that there's an OK to hold. So same idea. Push and hold OK in order to be able to reset that. And then down, you've got your range guide. So based off of your range, how far does it expect you to get? Tire pressure, which you have to be driving in order to be able to see, but you can change that up to PSI, kPa, or bar inside of the infotainment system. If you go into your setup there, or if you just do a long push and hold, That brings you to your general settings. You want to go to your units where you can change out either miles or kilometers. So you can go either way. You can change up whether you're in Celsius or Fahrenheit. And then for your consumption, for Canadians or people outside of the US, you're going to be used to kilometers or kilowatt hours per 100, which will be the same as kilometers or liters per 100. So that's the one you're going to be used to there. Miles, just got that one option. And then for tire pressure, PSI, kPa, or bar, you have to be driving in order to be able to see that measurement unit. And then you've got power distribution. Since this is all-wheel drive, you can see which axle is getting which amount of power. Obviously with rear wheel, you wouldn't have the same options. And then, oh, that's just it, your performance. Performance timer is strictly going to be inside of the GT version, which gives you this crazy look. Yeah, so cool. But yeah, you've got different options available there as well. But I'm personally a bigger fan of that sport mode look. And then if we hit the pages button one more time, you've got your basic compass view. So if you've got an active route going inside the vehicle, and that's strictly going to be for factory navigation, it wouldn't show maps through your phone there too, but you can at least see some turn-by-turn directions there as well. Some versions of the EV9 are also going to have a head-up display. So you can see there, if you've got a route going, you can see your turn-by-turn directions in that display. But inside of the infotainment system, if you go to your setup, cluster head-up display, you can adjust different things out in the head-up display. So you can toggle the head-up display off completely if you just don't want to show it. But then you can also adjust a few things out. So you can go up or down in order to say how high or low the head-up display sits. You can also go left or right to adjust out the rotation and then the brightness. But I always recommend for the brightness, go maximum to make it easier to see. And then what content do you want showing up? So do you want that turn-by-turn graphic showing up, yes or no? Your media information, so as you move between different sources, do you want that showing up as well, yes or no? Call information, driving assistance, and then blind spot. So if you've got your adaptive cruise control set up there, it would show up, and then your blind spot. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it would show you along the very bottom corner, letting you know if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Auto hold setting, with that one turned on, when you come down to a complete stop, if you take your foot off of the gas pedal, or I should say off of the brake pedal, when you come down to a complete stop, the car is not going to move. There's your downhill brake control. The button out here is for your sensing system, so that beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles, you can toggle that one off. And then this one is your camera button. So you've got either front camera, rear camera, with a few different display options for either. You can have your swing out view if you've got the surround view monitor to see what's going on all the way around you. In some trims, you can also take that same parking button. If you push and hold it, that is going to activate park assist. So the vehicle can help out with parallel perpendicular parking in and out. But if you want to walk through on that park assist system, you'll find that down in the description of this video. So I know that was a heck of a lot of information, but that's everything you need to know about the steering wheel and the cluster screen inside of the Kia EV9.